Winter always carries a weighty feeling, a cold, quiet pause that signals the end of things. But that year, as frost blanketed the ground and bare trees stood stark against a pale Virginia sky, something stirred within my son Noah and me. A longing for something we'd almost forgotten. I can still see the spark in his eyes as he spoke, his voice trembling with nervous hope. "Mom," he began, "do you remember how we used to hike in the Shenandoah woods every winter?" The memory flooded back vivid and warm. We'd spent countless winters bundled in layers, trudging through the forest with thermoses of hot chocolate savoring the crisp air. It was our sanctuary, a tradition that bound us together. But after my husband Noah's dad passed away 2 years ago, the thought of returning to that cherished place felt unbearable. The ache of loss had frozen that part of my heart, like the ice clinging to the branches outside. Noah's words pulled me from my reverie like a key turning in a long locked door. "Maybe we could go back this year," he suggested, pausing, worried he'd asked too much. "It doesn't have to be the same." I studied his face caught between boyhood and manhood at 19 and saw something new, a quiet strength, a sense of purpose. "All right," I said softly, my voice catching. "Let's do it." The next weekend we set out early. A light dusting of snow coated the Shenandoah trails, and the air was sharp with the scent of pine. Noah carried a bag stuffed with snacks and a thick wool blanket, while I clutched our old thermos, its familiar weight grounding me. The trees welcomed us like old friends, their branches swaying gently. The crunch of snow underfoot, the distant trickle of a stream, and the sunlight filtering through the canopy, it felt like slipping into a beloved coat, warm and familiar. As we walked, Noah shared his dreams of college, his plans for the future. His calm certainty moved me, stirring pride tinged with bittersweet grief. My little boy had become a man. His voice, steady and sure, echoed through the quiet woods, a reminder of the life we were rebuilding step by step. We found a clearing and spread the blanket. I poured hot chocolate into 2 mugs, steam curling into the frigid air. Noah leaned against a tree, his face serene, his breath visible in the cold. "This is perfect," he said, his voice brimming with joy. His eyes, a deep hazel like his father's, sparkled in the winter light. We sat in silence for a while, listening to the wind whisper through the pines. Then Noah looked at me, his gaze steady. "You know Dad would have loved this. Us being here." My throat tightened and I nodded. "He would?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. We shared a gentle smile, and for the first time in years the memory of my husband brought comfort instead of pain. It was as if he lingered in the rustling leaves, in the crisp air, wrapping around us, a quiet presence binding us to this place. Weeks passed, and that trip became the first of many. Each hike through the Shenandoah woods peeled away layers of sorrow, revealing warmth and vitality beneath. The forest became our confessional, where we bared our souls under the watchful eyes of ancient trees. Our conversations deepened, diving into dreams, fears, and unspoken burdens. One day, as we trekked back to the car, Noah stopped me. "I'm so glad we're doing this again," he said cautiously. "It feels like we're connected again." I turned to face him, my chest swelling with emotion. "Noah, I'm always here," I said, resting a hand on his arm. "I'm so proud of the man you're becoming." He gave a shy smile, and for a moment, he was the little boy who used to race ahead on these trails, his laughter ringing through the trees. The woods seemed to hold their breath, honoring the bond we were rebuilding. The trails we returned to softened with fresh snow, the air sharp and revealing every breath. As the holidays neared, I felt the familiar weight of my husband's absence, but Noah was determined to make them joyful. He swore this Christmas would be amazing, though I couldn't tell if he was reassuring me or himself. His resolve was a beacon guiding us through the darkness of grief. On Christmas morning, I woke to the scent of cinnamon and coffee. Noah had made breakfast pancakes, eggs, and toast, a feast his father would have applauded. Standing by the stove, his tall frame slightly hunched as he flipped a pancake, he grinned. "Merry Christmas, Mom," he said, his smile warm and boyish. "Merry Christmas, Noah," I replied, leaning against the counter, grateful and amused. "This is quite a spread." He shrugged with mock humility, just trying to stay on Santa's nice list. After breakfast, we exchanged gifts. Mine to him were modest, a few books, a new scarf. But Noah's gift stunned me. He handed me a beautifully wrapped package, his expression surprisingly shy. "Open it," he urged, his voice eager. Inside were 2 plush blankets, deep green like the pines, soft as velvet. He spoke casually about our forest trips, but his eyes watched my reaction closely. "I thought these would make things cozier," he said. I ran my fingers over the fabric, touched by his thoughtfulness. "Noah, these are perfect." "Thank you," I said, my smile warm. He grinned, clearly pleased. "If you're dragging me out in this cold, I figured we should at least avoid turning into icicles." "Dragging you?" I teased, raising an eyebrow. "I believe this was your idea." His laugh filled the room, bright and infectious. The blankets became our cocoon, wrapping us in warmth as we ventured deeper into the woods and into each other's hearts. Those blankets became essential to our adventures. Draped over our shoulders, we sat in our favorite clearing, sipping hot chocolate and talking about everything. Noah's teasing grew frequent, his playful jabs laced with affection. His words danced like the snowflakes around us, light but meaningful, warming me from within. One day under the blankets, he nudged me with his elbow. "Mom, you've got this whole outdoorsy vibe now," he said with a grin. "Super rugged and adventurous." I rolled my eyes, smirking. "Is that your way of saying I need more makeup?" "Not at all," he replied, his smile turning mischievous. "You look pretty great for someone roughing it in the woods." A flush crept across my cheeks. "Nice one, Noah," I said, pretending to be stern. "That's a compliment." "Don't overthink it," he teased, but his sincerity made me wonder if he saw me differently now, not just as his mother, but as a woman resilient and alive. It was both moving and startling, and I found myself craving these trips more than ever. One bitterly cold evening, as we walked back to the car, Noah draped his blanket over my shoulders, layering it over mine. "You need this more than I do," he said casually, though his gesture was pure care. I smiled, touched by his compassion. "What about you?" "Aren't you freezing?" He shrugged lazily. "I'll manage. Besides, you're the one I'm worried about." There it was again, that quiet devotion, an unwavering commitment that made me feel like the center of his world. His actions spoke louder than words, a silent vow to protect me as I had once protected him. Though Christmas had passed, its spirit lingered in the bond we'd forged. The Shenandoah Woods had become our haven, a place where past and present intertwined, healing old wounds. The day before my birthday, Noah brought it up out of the blue. He leaned against the kitchen counter, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "I've got a plan," he whispered. "I want to take you somewhere special for your birthday." "Special?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "What's that mean?" "It means," he said, drawing out the word with a grin, "you just need to get ready and trust me." His secrecy made me laugh, but it sparked my curiosity. His excitement was contagious, like a flame igniting my own anticipation. On my birthday morning, Noah was up early, bustling with purpose. When I came downstairs, he was loading a portable grill into the car along with a cooler and bags of food. I smiled, amused. "You're really going all out." "Of course," he said, brushing snow off his jacket and standing tall. "It's your birthday. You deserve the best." I couldn't argue with that. I went upstairs to change, and when I returned, he looked at me for a long moment. "You look perfect," he said, his smile subtle, almost shy. His words hung in the air, soft but weighted, making my heart skip. The drive to the New Forest took about an hour, winding through snow-covered Virginia roads that gleamed under the gentle winter sun. When we arrived, I was breathless at the beauty. This wasn't our usual Shenandoah trails. It was denser, quieter, with towering evergreens and a small frozen lake at its heart. "Wow," I breathed as we stepped out of the car. The air was crisp and clean, the only sound the rustle of branches in the wind. "Told you it was special," Noah said with a grin. He unloaded the car, setting up the grill and clearing snow from a picnic table. He'd thought of everything: steaks, vegetables, fresh bread, and a small bottle of wine. The setting was perfect, like a winter postcard brought to life. The lake shimmered under the fading light, a mirror reflecting our shared moment. As the grill sizzled, we wrapped ourselves in blankets and watched the sun dip below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the snowy landscape. Noah poured wine into 2 glasses and raised his in a toast. "To the most amazing woman I know," he said, his voice warm and sincere. I didn't know if it was the wine or his words that flushed my cheeks. "You're too kind, Noah," I said softly. "I mean it." He continued, his expression steady. "You deserve to feel special every day, but especially today." We spent the day talking, laughing, and eating his carefully prepared meal. It was one of the best birthdays I'd ever had, not because of the food or the setting, but because of Noah's thoughtfulness. Every glance, every smile felt like a gift, wrapping me in a warmth that rivaled the fire he'd built. As dusk fell, the forest grew even more magical. The sky turned vibrant shades of blue and purple, the air cooler. We reluctantly began packing, knowing it was time to leave. But when Noah turned the key in the ignition, the car wouldn't start. "No, no, no," he muttered, trying again. The engine sputtered, then died. "What's wrong?" I asked, already suspecting the answer. "I think the battery's dead," he said glumly. "And of course, there's no signal out here." We exchanged a look as the situation sank in. Too cold to walk back, with no way to call for help, we knew we'd have to spend the night. "All right," I said, forcing a smile. "At least we're prepared." Noah chuckled, but his tense shoulders betrayed his worry. "Guess my brilliant idea wasn't so perfect," he said. "It's fine," I reassured him. "We'll make it work. Honestly, there are worse places to be stuck." The forest seemed to nod in agreement, its silence a comforting embrace. We gathered supplies from the car, blankets, leftover food and wine, and set up camp near the still warm grill. The forest was eerily quiet, lit only by Noah's small fire. Its flickering glow danced on the snow, casting shadows that felt like guardians of our impromptu refuge. Huddled under the blankets, the situation felt less dire, more intimate. The cold pressed us closer together. Noah's arm rested gently on my shoulder, his warmth a steady anchor. "This isn't the birthday I planned for you," he said softly after a while. "It's perfect," I replied honestly. And it was. In the firelight, under a star-filled sky with Noah beside me, I felt an unexpected peace. The moment was raw, unscripted, and utterly ours. "You're incredible," he said suddenly, his tone serious. I looked at him, startled. "You are," he insisted, meeting my gaze. Through everything, you're still you, strong, kind, beautiful." I swallowed hard, his words sinking deep into my chest. "Thank you, Noah," I said softly. Under the blanket, his hand found mine, his touch gentle and reassuring. "I mean it," he said. "You're incredible, and I hope you know that." We sat in silence, the crackling fire the only sound. The air between us grew warmer, heavier, as if something unspoken lingered. In that frozen forest, surrounded by the vast quiet, I felt a spark both thrilling and unsettling. I realized Noah was no longer just my son. He was my companion, my rock, the one who made me feel truly alive. His presence was a steady flame warming the coldest corners of my heart. As the fire died down, we leaned into each other, letting the moment's warmth carry us through the night. It wasn't the birthday I'd imagined, but it was one I'd never forget. The blankets and fading embers lulled me into a deep sleep. The forest stayed silent through the night, save for the rustle of trees and a faint owl's call. I didn't realize how exhausted I was until sleep pulled me under. In that liminal space between dreams and waking, I felt a fleeting warmth on my cheek, followed by Noah's soft voice. "Mom, wake up," he said gently, almost tenderly. "It's morning." I stirred reluctantly, unwilling to leave the cozy cocoon we'd created, but his persistence won. His fingers barely brushed my shoulder as he spoke again. "Come on, sleepyhead. Time to rise." When I opened my eyes, dawn light filtered through the trees, casting an ethereal glow on Noah's face. He knelt beside me, his expression calm and caring. His hazel eyes caught the morning sun, reflecting a depth that made my heart ache with love. I could still feel his presence where his lips had grazed my cheek. "You could have let me sleep longer," I teased, my voice still husky with sleep. "And miss this view?" he replied, gesturing to the frost-covered trees around us. The forest sparkled like a diamond, each branch glistening in the soft light, a scene so beautiful it felt like a gift. As expected, Noah took charge. He'd rekindled the fire and brewed coffee over the flames, its rich, inviting aroma filling the cool morning air. "Here," he said, handing me a steaming mug. "Drink this to stay warm. I'm going to the road to flag someone down for the car." "Noah, you don't have to," I started, but he cut me off with a raised hand and a serious look. "Stay here by the fire where it's warm. I'll be back before you know it." His voice was steady, confident, a reminder of how far he'd come. He wasn't the little boy who needed me anymore. He was a man I could rely on. "Be careful," I whispered, as he zipped his jacket and grabbed a flashlight. He flashed a reassuring smile. It was the kind of smile that promised everything would be all right, and I believed it. The minutes passed slowly as I sat by the fire, its warmth licking my hands and feet while I sipped Noah's coffee. Without him, the forest's silence felt heavier. But I trusted him completely. I knew he wouldn't rest until we were safe. True to his word, he returned just over an hour later, his cheeks flushed from the cold but his face triumphant. "Found someone," he announced, his breath visible in the frosty air. "A guy with a truck is on his way. We'll be out of here soon." He began packing our things with purpose. The truck arrived shortly after, and with some effort they jump-started our car. "Thank you," I said to the driver, gratitude flooding me. Anytime he replied, waving as he drove off, leaving Noah and me to follow in our now working car. The forest seemed to bid us farewell, its beauty lingering in my mind like a promise. The drive home was peaceful as the sun climbed higher, illuminating familiar Virginia roads. Noah glanced at me, his expression thoughtful. "You okay?" he asked after a while. "I'm okay," I assured him. But I was more than okay. I felt at ease, cared for, whole in a way I hadn't in years. The road stretched before us, a metaphor for the journey we'd embarked on together, winding but certain. When we reached home, the warmth of the house enveloped us like a loving embrace. I collapsed onto the couch, exhausted from the adventure. "Stay there," Noah said, his tone gentle but firm. "I'll unload the car." I didn't protest, closing my eyes as the past 24 hours settled over me like a warm blanket. Each moment, the fire, the forest, Noah's care wove together into something sacred. When Noah returned, I was nearly asleep. I felt him drape another blanket over me, lingering for a moment. His actions were tender, saying more than words could. "You're incredible," I heard him say almost to himself before he moved on. I drifted into a deep sleep, my heart content, my mind at rest. No matter what obstacles we faced, I knew we'd face them together. Noah had proven time and again that he could care for himself and for me. In that moment, I realized something I'd never dared admit: our bond had grown beyond mother and son. It was deeper, more profound, built on trust, respect, and a love that transcended traditional roles. Asterisk, asterisk. As I slept, I dreamed of the forest, the firelight flickering on the trees, Noah's warmth beside me, his voice telling me I was safe. The memories blended seamlessly with the present, creating a feeling I couldn't fully describe, but knew I'd carry forever. It was a love that defied definition, a bond forged in the quiet of the woods and the glow of a shared fire.